As night falls, the world grows heavy, and thoughts fade, but the people of long ago continue to live. Footsteps echoing in the dusty streets of ancient Egypt, the gentle ripples on the banks of the Nile, the quiet breaths within the mudbrick houses, these are the still felt echoes of a world that no longer exists. This video is not meant to recount the story of great conflicts. This video shares the story of a slumbering empire. How did people in ancient Egypt wake up, work, tire, and fall silent at night? How did ordinary individuals in the shadow of the pyramids spend their days? What was life like for a farmer, a scribe, a craftsman, or a child? Now, silence the noises in your mind, take a deep breath, and travel back thousands of years to a morning when the Nile River flowed slowly. The sun may not have risen from the same place every day in ancient Egypt, but each morning began with a similar routine. People living in mud brick houses with flat roofs awoke with the morning light. There was no alarm clock, no rush, just the shadow of the sun on the wall and the faint sounds from outside. The houses were small, but life flowed slowly. This slowness was felt at every moment of the day. An Egyptian's morning began with waking their bodies. Faces were washed with the waters of the Nile, and simple linen clothes were worn. Everyone's clothing was ordinary, regardless of wealth or poverty. Ostentation was found not in daily life, but in the temples. Someone leaving home wanted to go to work before the heat became unbearable. Farmers headed to their fields, confidently working for the fertile soil left by the Nile. Every year, the overflowing river renewed the land, reviving hopes. There was no rush in tilling the soil. Oxen moved slowly. The plow gently tilled the earth. This was not a conflict, but a silent harmony between nature and the man. Scribes, however, took a different path. With papyri at hand and numbers in their memory, being one of the few literate people transported them to another reality. But this world was also peaceful and orderly. The scribes spent their day keeping records, grain quantities, worker lists, temple revenues. Every line was written to maintain order. No noise was raised, because order was maintained through silence. Life in the cities flowed slowly. There were marketplaces, but no shouting. Sellers advertised their goods. Buyers examined them. There was no other hustle and bustle. Children grew up among adults. There was no separate world for children. They too became acquainted with the flow of life early. Games were simple: stones, sticks, small figurines, but their imaginations were vast. Silence reigned inside the houses. Thick walls, small windows. The sun filtered in, the warmth slowly increasing. At midday, activity decreased. People rested in the shade. This rest was not laziness, but knowledge for survival. In ancient Egypt, those who rushed grew tired. Those who grew tired made mistakes, and error would disrupt the order. Temples were at the center of this order, but even the temples were silent. Under the rituals, steps were slow and careful. Prayers were not spoken aloud. The gods heard the whisper. As the day progressed, the sun began to set. The warmth spreading into the shadows softened. Work was tidied up, tools were put down. No one asked aloud, "What will happen tomorrow?" because tomorrow was already known. Evening was a moment of transition in ancient Egypt, from day to night, from the end of activity to the beginning of a time of stillness. Small lights flickered inside the houses. Oil lamps created shimmering shadows on the walls. Families sat together, spoke little, and listened much. Meals were simple but shared. And then, the sound of the Nile, the wind from afar, the chirping of insects. Ancient Egyptian nights were dark but peaceful. The sky was clear. The stars were considered the language of the gods. People did not dream big dreams when they went to sleep. Sleep was preparation for the next day. Dreams were important but not feared, because life was already orderly enough. As the sun slowly recedes from the banks of the Nile, night in Egypt is not merely darkness. It is a time when order prevails and life adopts a new rhythm. Daylight diminishes, but life continues. Lamps burn in houses. The scent of fine oil wafts through the stone walls. These lights not only illuminate the darkness, but also soothe the soul. For ancient Egyptians, night was a time for rest and reflection. In the neighborhoods where people live, houses are close together. Built of mud bricks, these structures trap the daytime heat and provide coolness at night. People sit on simple rugs spread on the ground, discussing the day's events in quiet voices. Stories are told in whispers, not shouts. For night is a time of peace, not loud noises. Children snuggle close to their mothers, while the elderly listen silently. Perhaps history isn't written in these moments, but culture is passed down from generation to generation. At night, the Nile River takes on a completely different form. Its water, shimmering in the daylight, appears deep and dark in the moonlight. Small boats are tied to the shore. The sound of oars is silent, the water almost motionless. The river is not merely a waterway, but also a reminder of the passage of time. For the Egyptians, the Nile represented the work of the day and peace at night. Therefore, sitting by the riverbank was a habit that calmed the mind. The area around the temples is more orderly at night. After the rituals of the day, the priests leave the area silent. The echoes between the great columns cease. Only the gentle sound of sand carried by the wind can be heard. The structure of the temples is in harmony with the night. Flowing lines rather than harsh ones prevail. This unconsciously gives one a sense of peace. As night falls, a different kind of tranquility permeates the areas near the palace. This isn't a secluded spot, but rather a place that maintains silence, a center of order. Palace staff move slowly, unhurried. Every action is met. For in Egypt, order is maintained not only by daytime rules, but also by nighttime behavior. In the palace rooms, lamps burn in a dim light. The paintings on the walls seem to move with the shadows. These paintings are not merely decorative. They tell stories recalling the past and symbolizing the continuation of order. Looking at these paintings at night is seen as a way to cleanse oneself of the day's chaos. No one rushes or speaks loudly. At night, the palace becomes a place where the importance of balance, not power, is felt. At this hour, scribes complete the day's records. Clay tablets or papyri are carefully arranged. In Egypt, writing signifies not only knowledge, but also order. The silence of the night helps maintain this order. The scribe slows their hand, their thoughts become clear. This tranquility becomes a natural part of the transition to sleep. Outside, the sky is clear. The stars shine especially brightly on Egyptian nights. When people look at the sky, they don't just see points of light. They feel the circularity of time and the order of the universe. Therefore, night is a time to be respected, not feared. Sleep is not seen as an escape into the unknown, but as a part of the order. And as night progresses, Egypt slowly surrenders to silence. Doors close, the light of the lamps dims, sounds subside. Everything begins to settle naturally without haste. This calm transition unconsciously prepares one for sleep, because in ancient Egypt, night is not just a time, it is peace itself. As the sun slowly receded over the Nile River, life inside the houses became more distinct. People who had worked outside during the day returned to their safe havens in the evening. In ancient Egypt, houses were not merely living spaces, but centers of order, routine, and tranquility. Thick mud walls retained the warmth of the day, making the atmosphere more comfortable in the cool evening air. The houses lacked large furnishings. Low divans, woven rugs, and simple wooden stools were present. Everything was in its place. There was nothing excessive. This simple arrangement also soothed the minds of the people. Family members sat side by side, conversations progressing slowly. Voices were not raised and there was no rush as the events of the day were recounted. Time seemed to pass more slowly here. A small oil lamp burning in a corner was the only light source in the room. The flickering movement of the flame cast soft shadows on the walls. These shadows were like another presence accompanying the silence within the house. Children, tired more quickly in this peaceful environment, lay down on the mats. The day drew to a close unnoticed. Evening meals weren't ostentatious, but they were regular. Bread, dates, sometimes a little fish or vegetables. Each bite was eaten slowly. Meals weren't just for satisfying hunger. They were perceived as a ritual marking the end of the day. This ritual reminded people of the order to which they belonged. Outside, the Nile River still flowed. The river had continued its flow both day and night. The people in the houses knew of this constant flow, but they didn't dwell on it too much. Knowing that life went on gave them a sense of security. Everything seemed to be as it should be. As the night progressed, conversation subsided. The lamplight began to fade and the atmosphere became quieter. People didn't rush to sleep because the same routine, the same pace would continue the next day. In ancient Egypt, nights offered a sense of continuity, not uncertainty. Inside these houses, time wasn't divided by sharp lines. Day and night connected with smooth transitions. Therefore, for these people who lived thousands of years ago, sleep wasn't just rest. It was a natural part of the order. As the sun slowly recedes its position on the Nile, the surface of the water ripples calmly in shades of gold and copper. The sun is no longer visible, but its warmth is still felt on the riverbank. For ancient Egypt, the Nile was not merely a stream of water, it was a living entity, bringing the last moment of the day and heralding the beginning of night. The boats waiting on the shore after a day of carrying grain, earthenware, and simple objects have settled down to rest. Oars rest against the shore, ropes loosened, no one is in a hurry in. Along the paths by the river, people who have worked all day walk slowly towards their homes. Words are short, voices low. The weariness of the day renders words unnecessary. The gentle sound of feet touching the earth merges with the whisper of the wind among the reeds. At this hour, the Nile bank is completely devoid of the day's hustle and bustle. Birds have returned to their nests, and life on the water has slowed. In the distance, the silhouettes of small settlements begin to appear. A thin wisp of smoke rises above the flat-roofed houses. This smoke indicates that dinner is being prepared and the hearths are still hot. In ancient Egypt, evenings were unpretentious. There were no grand celebrations or noisy crowds. Life was simple and orderly, both during the day and on the eve of night. Everything was in its place. The water of the Nile took on a deeper color with the darkness. The light of day was gone. Instead, an intense tranquility arrived. This tranquility had been experienced in the same way for centuries. The same banks, the same steps, the same silent turns. Time passed, but the rhythm never changed. As night falls completely into darkness, the sky slowly begins to fill with stars. For the people of ancient Egypt, this scene is unfamiliar. The same sky and order unfold every evening. The stars are not merely light, they are part of direction, time, and order. For someone standing by the Nile River, the sky is as familiar as daytime. It is observed silently, unquestioned. In houses near the bank, doors close and people retreat inside. The flickering light of oil lamps casts gentle shadows on the walls. The interiors of the houses are simple, filled with ceramic vessels, woven carpets, and low seating areas. The final moments of the day are felt without the need for words. Everyone understands that the day is ending. As the body prepares for rest, the mind also calms. Outside, the Nile continues to flow. No one stops or directs it. It is the silent observer of the night. This water, having witnessed the same path for thousands of years, has left behind countless evenings and weariness. In ancient Egypt, nights begin like this: a silent passage, unnoticed, noiseless. At these hours, the world becomes narrower. Grand structures, temples, and distant cities lose their significance. Only houses, the river, and the sky remain. Man is left alone with his surroundings. As the weight of the day slowly lightens, the atmosphere becomes even calmer. Breaths deepen, movements lessen, and night falls unhurriedly on the banks of the Nile. Everything silently prepares for the next day. Here, time knows how to fall asleep. As the roads around the village grow quieter after sunset, life retreats silently into the houses. Behind the mud walls, a different rhythm begins. These hours are not rushed. The burden of the day's events is left outside, and a more peaceful tempo prevails inside. The interiors of the houses are quite simple. A few baskets hang on the wall, woven mats are spread on the floor, and small containers stand in the corner. Every object knows its place. The only source of light is a glowing oil lamp. The movement of the flame creates soft shadows on the walls, almost concealing the passage of time. Families sit on the floor. The day's work is briefly shared, but the conversation doesn't last long. What is said doesn't break the silence. Pieces of bread left in a bowl are shared. Water is sipped slowly. These moments are not attention-grabbing. On the contrary, they carry the peace of simplicity. Children lie on the mats. The day's weariness weighs down their eyelids. The adults lower their voices and slow their movements. The house, detached from the chaos outside, establishes its own small order. As time passes, the lamp's light softens, shadows shorten, sounds diminish. The scent of the Nile, carried by the wind, can be felt behind the walls. As the river continues to flow silently near the village, the air inside the houses takes on a calm anticipation. At this hour, no one is in a hurry. No one thinks about tomorrow's task. The purpose of the night is rest. The slow relaxation of body and mind is seen as a natural extension of the day. Sleep is not forced. It comes when its time is right. And at this very moment, everything inside the house accepts the same silent agreement. The lamp is dimmed a little more. Conversations cease completely. The bodies on the mats remain motionless. In the simple houses of ancient Egypt, night slowly takes its place. As night falls, the village almost disappears. The lights inside the houses begin to go out. One by one, the flames of the oil lamps diminish. Conversations have completely ceased. Everyone surrenders to the tranquility that follows the day. It has cooled outside. The mud-brick walls slowly release the warmth they retained throughout the day. This creates an ideal balance, neither too hot nor too cold inside the houses. Bodies begin to adapt to this balance, and breathing slows. Near the Nile River, the slow flow of the water can be heard. This sound is neither too distinct nor too faint. It is like a reminder that life still goes on, but that it is now time to rest. The river is still and silent, like the true master of the night. In some houses, the elderly are still awake. Although their eyes are closed, they are not in a deep sleep. The mind slowly lets go of memories of days gone by, youth, journeys, old seasons. Even these thoughts are not hasty. They all adapt to the calm movement of the night. The village roads are completely deserted. Moonlight falls on the corners of houses and narrow paths. These areas, once bustling with life, are now just silhouettes. No sound disturbs the scene. At this hour, night is not only dark, it is also like a protective sheath, enveloping people, animals, and homes. Everything remains in its place. Sleep, as a natural consequence, slowly begins to creep in. As time passes, the village seems to have forgotten how to breathe. Everything inside the houses has come to a standstill. People lying on mats have surrendered to the flow of the night. There is neither haste nor anticipation. The sky is clear. The stars, reflected on the waters of the Nile, create a doubly profound silence. The lights above seem to be watching the slowing down of life below. The animals are also peaceful. The donkeys and goats that move during the day now only make their presence felt. They make no sound. They too are part of this. The night is the same for everyone. The air inside the houses is not crowded but rather calm. The human mind finds freedom in this atmosphere. Thoughts mingle in an orderly fashion. Falling asleep is not difficult. It happens slowly and imperceptibly. At this hour, no one plans anything for the future. Tomorrow's work, the fields, the markets, all are matters for the morning. The night is only for rest. This simple wisdom of the ancient world has remained constant for centuries. Thus, the village continues its existence silently in the middle of the night. There is neither a beginning nor an end, only time slowing down and a profound peace that follows. During this journey, we touched upon many details of daily life in ancient Egypt. We followed a path that ranged from long hours spent in the fields, to the simple arrangements within homes, to the peaceful atmosphere that slowly enveloped the villages after sunset. What was mentioned here weren't grand events or momentous occasions. The most important thing was how people lived, rested, and accepted time. We felt how life softened with the arrival of night, how the rush faded away. The river, the houses, the sky, and the people all shared the same harmony. No one was in a hurry. The weight of the day was balanced by the tranquility of the night. This balance remained unchanged for centuries. Ancient Egyptian nights were not only dark, they were also a moment of coming together. This was true for the people as well as for time itself. In these quiet hours, life didn't stop. It simply flowed slower, felt more deeply. Now, everything described became a whole within the night. A village, a few houses, a few people, but in reality, so much more. The simple wisdom of the past. If you felt a sense of relief in your mind while listening to this story, if your breathing slowed, or if your thoughts faded away, this indicates that the story has achieved its goal, because the past described here is not complicated, not ostentatious, relaxing. On this channel, we will continue to offer stories that don't burden the present while looking back at the past. Different civilizations, diverse lives, but always with the same calm narrative style. Stories that aid sleep, slow the mind, and evoke a sense of time. If this journey has been enjoyable for you, you can subscribe to the channel and follow the continuation of these stories. Each new video will be a peaceful window opening in a different corner of the night. Now you can leave what has been told behind and surrender to the rhythm of the night. Time is standing still. The day is over. Rest well.